Good evening and welcome to the We Are Rise show. How's everybody doing on this very cold and beautiful Monday? Is it cold by you? I hear it's snowing in certain places. That's awesome. I hear it might snow in Tampa tomorrow. 38 degrees. Holy shit. That's awesome. I love the cold weather. I love the fall. I love the winter. It's fantastic. Welcome in, everybody. Marshall Smith, how you doing, buddy? Let's welcome my co-host.
I'm doing good, man. I got my sweater on and everything. I'm feeling good. You know, it was
Yeah.
nice today. It was like mid
Yeah.
60s, bright and sunny.
It was breezy. It was
So,
very
yeah, it was
breezy.
breezy, but out in the sun, if you're out of the wind, it was
Yeah.
beautiful.
Oh,
Did a
yeah.
little painting and stuff. So, you know,
You did a little what?
a little
Painting?
painting. Yeah, I
Oh, okay.
painted my door.
Oh,
I put a new door in last week.
okay.
So I was like, I'll do a little painting out. It's
This
kind
guy
of
will
nice.
paint in a snowstorm. I'm telling you, it's great. Welcome in, everybody. We're on YouTube now. If you're on YouTube, I dropped the actual link. If you want to call in tonight, you could call in. I dropped the links all over on Pilled and on Rumble as well. Please subscribe if you're over there on YouTube. Welcome in, Pill.net. I see you with USA. How you doing? Welcome in. Thank you for the 117 gold pills. Who else is here? Patty B. How you doing? Trusty Turnip. Welcome in. Good evening. Trump 1. Thank you for the cooking and good evening back. Who else is here? Thea, how you doing? Thank you for the 1,700 gold pills. Yes, I wasn't here last night. I had a family function, so I should return next Sunday as I normally do, but I wasn't able to make the yesterday's show and stuff. MG615, how you doing? Brett Marshall, 34 degrees in Nashville. Wind is brutal. Wow. Hello, Alita. I love the warm weather climates. Well, I think, what are you in, California? FL John, how you doing? And True Terran, greetings and salutations. Welcome in, everybody. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. This week's going to be very impactful. It's going to be strange too. We've learned a lot about how the Democrats have really shot themselves in the foot, revealed themselves. I think we're getting closer and closer to the idea of the inevitable, which is the Trump card, the option, the nuclear option, as President Trump says, that we're going to actually reach the filibuster. I think they're just planning on waiting until next year, maybe next year or maybe December, because we're only going to get about a month's time of certain deals that are going to go through as this whole CR. They're going to pass a couple CR, open up the government, and maybe I think in some way it'll last till either December or January. They'll fund the government for a couple of months, and then we might be back in a similar situation and stuff. So I don't know where that's going. Tonight's show, pardoning the plot. Trump frees his 2020 coup crew. Basically, he pardoned a lot of these people. He pardoned the 6 Nevada fake electors that were involved in the efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Michigan exec James Wolcott's. He had a day one pardon. Michelle Florio, many others. Jenna Ellison was on that list, believe it or not. You know how she turned tail on President Trump. Rudy Giuliani, and many others. Sidney Powell. I think that's a good thing. We're going to cover that. Mortgage Marathon. I have to tell you right now, as a realtor, I've never heard anything so ludicrous in my life. But I understand the premise, okay? It needs a lot of fine-tuning. A 50-year mortgage? Yeah, I'm not signing up for that. I'd rather get an arm or an extension, not a 50-year mortgage, and roll that dice. I want my $2,000. Well, that's a clip. I want my $2 from Better Off Dead. The guy who's delivered the papers, and he doesn't pay him, and he's chasing him on the slopes. I want my $2. Well, I want my $2,000. How is it just $2,000? I want to understand how we're going to get to that magic number. So that's something we're going to go over tonight. But I want to address what's happening right now. Politico's got a bunch of articles out, and I want to cover what's taking place regarding the Schumer. Let's say it's coming to an end. The shutdown. It's probably going to end on Thursday. They're saying Thursday or Friday. Believe it or not, Rand Paul is the stick in the mud in this. He's holding this up where it was supposed to be done on Wednesday, most likely. President Trump also throwing $10,000 extra bonuses to air traffic controllers, telling them to get back to their job, not to drink on the jobs, show up to their job. I mean, we have such a situation with DEI hires and all these people that just basically didn't show up, didn't call in. They weren't getting paid, and it was getting bad. I don't know what you think about that, but this is the reason. This was the scaling down for a reason that Sean Duffy, Transportation Secretary, was telling everybody about. And it's not just that. You heard President Trump in the White House today in the Oval Office talking about a future automation for air traffic controllers and the FAA. That was coming. We knew it was bad. We knew it was brutal. We discussed it on Friday. Marshall, your thoughts? We're going to get into this Politico article.
Well, I know one thing that their base, all the Democrat voters, they're losing their shit
Right.
because their insurance rates are the thing. The Obamacare subsidies expired. They were scheduled to expire. That's their own fault. They voted for that shit, and now they're looking at $2,000-3,000 increases per month and all this crazy stuff. So hey, they're losing it online though. They're definitely losing it.
I see you guys. I hate the cold weather. Okay. I mean, yeah, I know. I don't like the cold and snow. I don't want the cold and snow. At Aloha Mom Trump 1. Yeah, I see you. I mean, I understand. Living in Florida, it's 8 months of the year. It's piss warm. So for me to get a couple of months of cold weather, I really thoroughly enjoy it. To open up the windows, just go for long walks with the dog and stuff. I mean, I understand, especially if you're in areas where it's particularly colder than it is warmer. I understand. I understand. I see some of these people. What's up, Blue Viking? I see a lot of people like, I hate the cold weather. Okay. All right. No problem. All right. Yeah. So the Obama thing, let me just say this. The whole shutdown expose, the quarrel, the wrangling in the conversation about Obamacare, President Trump was talking about it today in the Oval Office. They're going to redo it. Okay. I believe that they're going to get to redoing it. Now, this is all going to be on the Democrats, and everybody knows why. All right. They kept this open. They didn't want to do anything, and they were forced. A lot of these people, let's put it this way. I'll just name a couple of people that we know for sure. Angus King, Dick Durbin, Jeanne Shaheen. Her seat is open. She's not coming back. Virginia Mark Warner's up for re-election. There was a lot of people, these 8 senators, that came together in a coalition to buck the trend because their seats are on the line. They're up for re-election, or the party in general. There's some open seats in the Senate. You have about what? I think it's 22 seats. There's a lot of seats that are open right now in the Senate that are up for re-election. I think a lot of people are concerned about that. And I think this is the reason why Angus King from Maine crossed party lines and said, hey, we got to do something about this. And he basically was going on all these channels and saying, look, this is not doing anything. Another day or two is not going to change anything. And the fact is, we failed, or he said we failed to basically blame this on Trump. It was a political stunt. We all know it was, and now it's backfired. And Schumer, I think he's going to face it. He'll face it next year. He'll either resign or they'll vote, or they'll make sure they'll find a new minority leader if the Senate if the Democrats don't take control of the Senate. So Schumer's no longer effective. Dems' outrage over the shutdown. Congressional Dems are livid after a handful of their Senate colleagues voted Sunday to advance the House-passed stopgap and end government shutdown. Chris Murphy called it a mistake. Bernie Sanders called it a very bad night. Reps Ro Khanna, California, Seth Moulton, Massachusetts, accused Senator Minority Leader Chuck Schumer of being ineffective and called for his removal. So right now, you're seeing people percolate. They're ready. They want him to remove Schumer. And I think President Trump having the foreknowledge, having that feasibility to peer into the future and say, be careful, Chuck, AOC is going to take your seat. How did he know that? I mean, obviously right now, he's hanging on a lifeline where the minority vote or minority leader himself might be deposed by people calling for his head. And I think it's going to happen. After 40 days of stalemate, 8 members of the Senate Democrat caucus voted to advance the bill Sunday night. Though notably, none of the 8 are up for re-election in 2026. That's not true. Angus King, Dick Durbin, and Jeanne Shaheen. So this article that's saying it is a lie. Now, Mark Warner's not there, but they are up. And Jeanne Shaheen's seat is open. And she was one of the people that crossed the line. So when I read this political article, I'm going to call out some of the falsehoods about that, who voted no on Sunday, who is now facing questions about the ability to lead the caucus. Don't endorse or say who voted for New York City despite being there. Democrat candidate Mark Pocan from Wisconsin wrote on X, referring to Schumer declining to endorse Democrat socialist Zohran Mamdani in New York City mayoral race. Get Democratic senators to negotiate to terrible deal that does nothing real about health care screw over a national political party profile of scourge. Next, Democrat Senators Durbin, Rosen, Fetterman, Catherine Cortez, Masto, Jean Shaheen, Maggie Hassan, Tim Kaine, along with independent Agnes King, who caucuses with all Democrats, all voted to advance. 3 of them were up for re-election. This article is lying to you. They put that in there as a preface, but I looked it up. The House could take up the spending compromise later this week. House Democrat leadership has signaled they oppose the legislation, though. Purple District lawmakers could face pressure to vote for it. House Democrats are expected to hold a virtual caucus Monday afternoon to discuss the way forward. All right, the way forward is simply this. We know they're close to getting these 60 votes. I'm going to show you that. There's other things on the table right now. A couple of Republicans like Rand Paul are sticking in the mud right now. They're holding up some of this. They want something from this. We don't know where this is going. We're seeing Wednesday. Now we heard Thursday or Friday. And I don't think it's going to be any later this week that the government's going to open up and they're going to start funding a lot of stuff. They're going to do it right away. Marshall, your thoughts about this? What do you think about the air traffic controllers, what President Trump said about that with the $10,000 bonus? I mean, why would you give a $10,000 bonus to these people? I mean, is it to really force them to show up or get people to, take some money in some way so there'll be much more? Why would you want to give people who didn't show up, who weren't getting paid, who were DEI hires, and then, I don't know, enable them in some way to take this money? I don't know what that is. I mean, is that bonuses for new people and new hires?
If it's for them, I wouldn't have a problem. I can understand that. I think he's also thinking in the back of his mind, it's the holidays.
Yeah.
And that's really, really important. And if you screw up something like that, you want to be able to solve that problem, because you don't want to be the president and have that kind of problem with the people not,
Right.
Imagine sleeping in the airport overnight and it's Thanksgiving. You just missed the whole family deal.
Well,
So I think he's thinking about that, really.
Well, I think it's also twofold, because it's not just the air traffic controllers not getting paid, not showing up, being drunk or what have you, or the DEI hires, or the lack of people that they have to hire new people. And whether that's a bonus to kick in for the holidays or is that's a hiring bonus, what have you, I'm all fine with that. But if the system is so outdated, so, antiquated in some way, and then President Trump talked about this today in the White House, it would seem to me that they would have to fast track this. And this time off, was that a way to fast track it? The 40-day, 40-night scenario, it strikes me as, I think some people are making these comments. Have anybody actually thought about what was taking place in regards the connection to the Bible? 24 times in the Bible, 40 days and 40 nights. That's how long the shutdown has gone on. You got the 10 Commandments with Moses in the wilderness, coming down from the mountain. You got Jesus in the desert, 3 times being tempted by Satan. You got the flood that lasted 40 days. I mean, I don't know. Is it odd that the 40 days was the magic number that they moved off on this, and then they started to get some type of they've been lying to Americans for 40 days. Is it biblical in that manner, in that perspective? Has anybody thought about that? 40 is a judgment number. Yes, Aloha Mom, thank you. Yes, it is a judgment number in that. And I was just thinking that I don't know if anybody was like trying to connect it. I'm not saying it is or isn't, but it just seemed like an odd number to fall upon. Why not 30? Why not 60? Why not 50? But yes, it's biblical in that matter, Marshall.
What about 2000? How does that fall in?
What, the $2,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll get to that in a second, but we're not talking about that right now.
Yeah,
I'm just talking about
this.
This.
Curious about that number too.
So here's the
We
procedure.
will talk much more about this. Again, you're looking live at the Senate floor as the Democratic filibuster has been broken. We have so far reached 60. We're waiting for the official count, but right now, 60 votes that would unlock moving forward with this plan to reopen the government on the Senate side. A quick break, more on the other side.
Look, CNN is recognizing right now, and most of the other networks are recognizing right now that it's the Democrats' fault. They're laying blame to them. There's no walking away from it. I'm going to show you right now. And a lot of people are, they're just pulling their hair out. They're like, how could you do this? And they're blaming Chuck Schumer. So, stunning admission from the Senate floor. Senate Dick Durbin announces Democrats privately knew they were about to starve children and cause even more harm to Americans by shutting the government down. Wow, they're cooked. I cannot accept a strategy which wages political battle at the expense of my neighbor's paycheck for food for his children. This is a brutal moment for the Democrat Party. Listen to this.
With the Republican Senate leader, John Thune. We will agree to open the government until January 30th, 2026. During that time, we will pass 3 bipartisan appropriation bills that will fully fund SNAP, WIC, and all the veterans programs, and finish our work on the remaining spending bills for this fiscal year. The agreement would also reverse the Trump administration's mass firings during the shutdown and prevent future ones through January 30th. We credit Senator Kaine of Virginia for this provision. Leader Thune has also promised the Democrats an opportunity before mid-December to present a Democratic bill on the floor with proposals to change the law and protect American families from dramatic health care premium increases. It is my fervent hope that this ends up being a bipartisan effort. It would be such an achievement of the Senate to finally return to that status. I've served in the Senate for 29 years. I've never seen that kind of offer from a Senate majority. During the historic roll call last night, I walked across the aisle and met with Senator John Thune, the Republican leader. I told him that I was counting on him to keep his word on this agreement. He assured me he would. The fate of this effort depends on both the Senate and the House of Representatives. After a 7-week absence, the Speaker Johnson needs to call his members back and join us in the hard work that lies ahead. Many of my friends are unhappy. They think we should have kept our government closed indefinitely to protest the policies of the Trump administration. I share their opinions of this administration, but cannot accept a strategy which wages political battle at the expense of my neighbor's paycheck or the food for his children. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Yeah, like your neighbor, okay, really needs those type of SNAP benefits and stuff. You live in a very, very, very well-to-do area. This guy's a multimillionaire. Don't be persuaded by the idea, oh, he's using his neighbor as a rationale, as an argument, and saying, yeah, my neighbors are suffering. They're all on SNAP. Come on. Are you buying that? But look, they're admitting right now they had no choice. They were forced into this position. I saw your Blue Viking. You're saying the $10,000 bonus is for the people that stayed. Okay. Yeah, we'll get into that. Marshall, your thoughts on that? I mean, Dick Durbin right now is covering his ass. He is up for re-election. See, the political argument, article was a sham on a lot of ways. That's why I didn't cover all of it, because I went through it. There is a lot of people up for re-election. Some people are dipping out, and he's one of them. Okay, so don't be assuaged from the idea that this is all, has nothing to do about 2026. Has nothing. They're only funding the government up until what, maybe January 30th at this point, with certain provisions that they're going to move through. That's what they agreed upon. And fixing Obamacare. Did you hear that, Marshall? Fixing Obamacare.
Yeah. The first thing I noticed in his little speech there is he sounded really defeated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he sounded like he's been beat up to shit, I
Yeah.
mean, that would, normally these Democrats are up there squeaking and squalling. So that's the first thing I noticed. And yeah, they've got to do something about, they have to make it a free market healthcare system, like Trump was talking about earlier today, and make it in the open market where it's competitive. They need to make it so that you could actually go to a doctor without insurance. That's what I do. They need to make more options so people, like if you're young, you really don't need health insurance. You just need a good primary care physician that you can go and get a checkup.
Right. I think it was a period of time, up until 30. That's when you should start to really get health care and stuff in some way. You need more of probably need other things involved. I mean, what was it back then? Was it short term or long? I think it's short term healthcare. That's what they called it at that time. Back in the 90s, I think I did that.
I've never been a real fan of insurance at all.
Yeah.
I
Well,
just think that it's, look what they do. They go to the doctors and they charge so much more
mm.
for whatever, the medicines or whatever, before you can get through. They're almost like gatekeepers.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
really.
listen. Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
I'm like, yeah, bill me. I'm not going to pay. I'm like, whatever, because I
damn.
use an HSA, and then so if you overcharge me, okay, I don't what I have to get credit. You're not going to send it back. You can't send it back, so I gotta use that as credit for next time. Fuck that. I don't want you taking more money out. All right, send me the bill. I'll pay it. I go get blood work. Send me the bill. I'll pay it. All right. That way I know it goes to the insurance and then it's not overdone. I can look at that and look at this. When you keep sending me fucking bills and installments, I'm not paying it. I'm not. I just refuse to. It's just a waste. But here's the thing about the Obamacare they're talking about. Like I said, the whole shutdown experience, the wrangling, the quarrel, the conversation about it, the falsehoods that it ran with are now front and center to expose and undo the premium hikes that are just destroying the middle and lower class of Americans with no direct relief. I think President Trump is going to bypass, as he said, the insurance companies to go directly to the American citizen, American populace, so they can get health care. And I think, and have that connection, how they're going to work it out, that's fine. Maybe call it Trump health care. I don't know what they want to do, but whatever it is, they have to basically fix this problem because Obamacare, I don't know how you can remove it. You could basically let it go broke. I think that's what it's going to happen. And the idea that this was what? The pricing and the billing. The auditing exposes the opaqueness of a sketchy system. Trump wants the transparency that you could see the pricing and the billing in it. That's the problem. You don't know what it is. And actually what it costs and what it funds and who's collecting money on the back end of this, that's not good. It's an insurance scam. That's what Obamacare is. It did three things. It tracked children, okay, the vaccines, and it was all about what? Making the insurance companies much more profitable. Here's another thing. Any penalties for the working class will be removed. No forced mandates. Well, I mean, that should go without saying. And then I think the other one is reimposing, bringing back, reinstituting the freedom of choice in a newly revised Trump healthcare scenario. I think so. I think that's the way to go, because when you're forced, like my insurance company tells me I have a managed plan where certain prescripts that if I take, it has to be a 90-day thing. And I have to go A, B, or C to get that. I can't get it from the pharmacy that I have now. So instead of me going to Walgreens or CVS, I got to go here or here to get that. And it's because the price is built in for that. And I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of a pain in the ass. I don't want to do that. And you can't opt out of this. And they force you into these types of things. So if you're taking something that you have to take on a daily basis, that's unfortunate. But they keep the price down, and that's the conditions where we're in. But that's when you have a PPO or a choice and stuff. But when you have Obamacare and stuff, and you have an HMO, when you have something completely different, you don't have a choice. And see, I think that's what President Trump should be putting back in. I think basically removing the HMO status and giving people an opportunity with the choice and the way the system is built in and rigged in, I think in some way, they need to go directly at the people, because what individuals need and can spend is the only way you can determine what the cost will should be. You know, you should have that type of scenario where you should be able to figure out what it is. It not them telling you, well, it's going to be 500, it's going to be 600. Well, now it's gone up like 300. I remember we were doing private insurance, my wife and I. All right, we were doing private at a time, and I remember we were paying $1,400 a month, and it was going through the business. And I'm like, fuck this. And it was going to go up to 18. I'm like, who's paying that? How many times you go to the doctor? See, that's the problem. That's how the game is rigged. These insurance companies have profited off your back, and they don't make it affordable. And that's why people getting sicker, okay? Because they don't have the money to go to the doctor. That's why I like these ideas with short-term clinics and all these other things. You can't go to the hospital unless it's emergency, and they have to take you by law. But the biggest problem we're facing right now is the obstacles, all right? I mean, Florida, there is laws where you can get insurance for kids under 18. But then there are other things. There are other obstacles in there, especially if you have special needs kids with autism or other things. These are, I think, some of the pitfalls I have with insurance companies in general, and they're not working to the betterment of, I think, American citizens. And I think realistically, why should you pay it? You're already paying X amount now, and it's going up. Why would you want to continue to pay it when it's not doing anything for you, Marshall?
You know, the whole medical industry
Mhm.
is antiquated, and it's designed to keep you sick so
Yeah.
that you keep going to these places. What is left out, and the way it needs to be completely rethought and redone. They need to have nutrition as part of it. They
Yeah.
need to have health and lifestyle as part of it, because preventative care is really where you want to go. That's it. So you don't have to go to these places. Now, is it good for the medical industry? No,
No.
but that's not the point. The point is to keep you healthy. That's not their point. Okay.
You need and also an option, I think, for naturopathics. I
All of
think that's
all
the problem.
yes. Well,
I,
that's what I meant by nutrition and all.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, I
All of
mean,
that.
look at what happened when SNAP benefits came back online. Soda and potato chips were the number. Those were the things people are eating and getting. Can you believe that shit? But that's where we are. I don't know if we have the will to change, where some people have the will to change. I don't know if everybody does, but we need to change that in general. I think offering a naturopathic in some way and not going
All
to
of
a
it.
doctor
Yes.
that's making money off the vaccine every time and stuff. That's raising these prices up where they're getting rich on the back end. That's another problem in general. There should be options in place that you get to choose your doctor where you want to go. You get to choose the pharmacy that's best, let's just say, situated for you. That's close, that's local, that's affordable. Whether they're going to mail in a drug because the big box stores are too expensive, or they no longer want to carry certain products. These are the things to consider.
They should have
Use,
to pay more too, though. If they're
yeah,
overweight and they're eating all this junk,
yeah,
they should have to pay a little bit more because of their choices.
right.
Otherwise, everybody else is paid. Just like the airlines.
Hmm.
If you're having to get this huge seat, you should have to pay more. I mean, it's
Excuse me.
not the other person's fault that you're obese.
Right.
You know, the whole anyway. I
No,
can go
I
on.
mean, it's a good point. I mean, I like a fat tax, a soda tax. I understand that. I don't know how well that works in some way, but you know, but you by costing everybody, the collective, much more than what it should be, and my premiums are higher because other people out there just are not taking care of themselves. I understand that, but I think individually how these plans are going to go really is going to be determinant about where people individually will fit into these things based upon their medical condition, based upon their cost of living, how much they can afford, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let me say a couple of thank yous out here. I'm reading your stuff out here. Curious Cat, thank you for the cookie. Thea, thank you for the cookie. Thea, thank you for the 1,700 gold pills. I appreciate it. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a gold pill. Please hit the bell so you know when we go notified that the show goes on YouTube, on Rumble, and on here on pill.net. If you want to help out Marshall, ko-fi.com/surfdog74. All right, let's get into this. MJ Truth put this out. Now that the government shutdown is over, what did each side give up? Democrats gave up what? ACA, Obamacare subsidy extension? Yes. 40 days of leverage. Kate Firstly, 40 days. No one answered me what they thought about the 40 days. Do you think that's something in there with the biblical thing? Or am I just basically shooting blanks here? I just something I was thinking about looking at. I'm like, this number pops up. Again, Marshall saying how we get to 2,000. We'll get to that. Public image, 60% of voters blame Dems. That's not good. Republicans gave up what? 150,000 federal layoffs only until January 30th. Locked in full SNAP VA funding for 1 year. Excludes illegal aliens. Okay. Thune promised Dems a Senate ACA vote. Moot. It dies in the House anyway. Why is this a clear Trump GOP win? Got the exact bill, clean CR, $0 ACA flat funding. Made Democrats fold after 40 days. Next showdown, January 30th, 2026, with bigger GOP majorities, total control. Proves shutdowns are Trump's superpower again, longest ever. Final score, Trump won. He signed what we wanted on day 40, game over. Okay, I like that. I mean, okay, what do you think? You think that in some way this was, did President Trump come out smelling like the winner? Did the Republicans, who normally cave, they're squishy, they came out smelling like the winner here? I got to give it to my Thune and Speaker Johnson. They stood their ground. They waited for this to capitulate, and they did, Marshall.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they actually did it.
Right.
Especially Thune, that's stiff.
Yeah.
But I got to give credit where credit's due. They held on, and for the first time I've ever seen, the Democrats actually folded.
Right.
Because usually it's we the ones that bend the knee. So
Mhm.
there
Right, here
you
are
have
the 8 senators, okay? I'll just show it to you. I'm not going to read it to you. Senator Kathleen Cortez Masto of Nevada, okay? Dick Durbin of Illinois, he's up for re-election. John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, Tim Kaine of Virginia. Now, Mark Warner is up for re-election in 2026. So he's doing this because it helps him to retain that seat. Mark Warner, another Democrat colleague in there. Kaine represents 150,000 federal workers affected by the shutdown. They both do. And I think that's why he's there. Angus King of Maine realized he's up for re-election. And as an independent, he had no choice to put in with this because he realized and stuff, look, I pull with the caucus of the Democrats. But as an independent, I already hearing from my base, this is not good, and the fallout's going to be ugly. So I wanted people to see that the political articles are you got to read them. You got to read them because they put a lot of bunk in there, and you got to go through the process. This comes from Citizen Free Press. I see you, Nod Dog. Thought the 40-day things was a heck of a catch by you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I went through. I have the app, the Bible app on the thing, and I was going through all this stuff on this, and I counted 25 times, and I was putting up all this stuff and going through it. I would ask AI to tell me this stuff, and then I'd go through the Bible verses of all them. And, someone said, was it's 36 months. Is it 40 weeks for birth or 36? I think it's 36, but it's almost 40 if you think about it. So that, but I like what someone was saying about judgment. I did like that idea, but that's what I'm saying. It just seemed odd. It fell on that. And I was just odd that no one mentioned it. All right. The time has arrived to end the filibuster. I'm not alone in here. And look, I think in some way they're waiting. And I think this is the wait is going to happen next year. They're going to do it next year because if all this stuff ends and they get through this by midweek and we open up the government fully as agreed upon, what they're saying by January 30th, we'll be right back at the same situation. And maybe they're just holding on for that period of time. But listen to Laura Ingraham. I've never heard her. Listen to how fiery she is supporting President Trump, which is number one. Okay. But she's a Republican, so that comes first. But listen to what she said about this.
But it's time Congress also does its part. Passing the big, beautiful bill, that's not enough. We need to be as aggressive as the Democrat socialists are on all fronts. And until one Republican can convince me tonight that the Democrats won't dump the filibuster the first chance they get, I think they need to seriously consider listening to Trump and doing it first.
Wow.
Otherwise,
I never hear Laura Ingraham on Fox News give that much praise to President Trump. She is only doing this as one of these, I call her a Christian Zionist Republican. She's one of those people. And because the party comes first from her standpoint. But her defending President Trump in this matter, saying he's right, they better listen to him because there's a harbinger out there and they know what it is. She knows what it is.
Republicans will be playing a very dangerous waiting game, perpetually on the defensive, picked off one by smiling socialists who rule like Soviet tyrants. And that is the angle.
Yeah, Trump won. Do I believe they'll end the filibuster? I believe so. I mean, look, it's posted. President Trump has said it many a times. The idea that he's giving them cover for now and setting up this idea, and I'm going to show you why. Because more and more we talk about this and more of the fallout of them opening up the government, how they're waning on it, how it hurts the Democrats completely, how Schumer is just destroyed. As Marshall said, look at Dick Durbin. These people look defeated. They look really, they're in a bad situation right now. And I think in some way they don't know what to do. They're boxed in. Either way, it doesn't matter at this point. What matters is when is the right time to go ahead and utilize the filibuster. I believe they will because they'll have no choice come 2026. If we have an election, and I say that cavalier, I say that in such a manner, and a little sarcastic, but there's something to think about that because I think the bowels of hell are going to open up before that election. Did you know, I was reading an article about what took place just this past week with the elections and stuff, and there was coverage where the DOJ is investigating over 250 incremental, let's just say, incidental, accidental, occidental, I don't know, things in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. You know how many bomb threats? Over 100 bomb threats between both states at polling booths. They're investigating all this stuff, and they're investigating election interference. There's so much more that's going to break on this. I wonder how that's going to turn out. All right. And, you calling a bomb threat, look out. I mean, you're done, especially at a polling booth, election interference. Has anybody read the executive order 13484? Yeah, that actually covers that. Here's Eric Daughtry. Utter chaos has erupted among left-wing base and is the View nuking Chuck Schumer for letting the party cave to Donald Trump for the shutdown. Listen to this. I'm not going to play all of it. Let's fast forward.
You all tried to explain themselves to their unhappy colleagues. Take a look.
I understand that not all of my Democratic colleagues are satisfied with this agreement, but waiting another week or another month wouldn't deliver a better outcome.
This agreement tonight is a win for the American people. There was zero chance of dealing with the ACA issue as long as the shutdown continued. Now, I don't know, 50-50, but there's a lot better chance now than there was this morning.
This was a very, very bad vote. And what the election showed is that the American people want us to stand up to Trumpism, to his war against working class people, to his authoritarianism. That is what the American people wanted. But tonight, that is not what happened.
So, I mean, 50-50 chance of negotiating health care subsidies. I just remember all of the people who are coming in and hoping that people would vote them in and say, yes, you can be this person, or you can be a judge, or you can be this. And they all said, no, we're not going to mess with anything. No, we're going to leave everything as it was. I have no faith that they're going to negotiate and come back to the table. And I'm glad that folks, maybe, because again, we have seen, you say this is going to happen and then it doesn't happen.
Right.
So surprise me and show me that this is really, that people are going to get their money, that people are going to get the money that they are entitled to. It's not a gift.
Right.
They're entitled to this money during when there's a shutdown.
They're entitled to it. Who's entitled to it? People are entitled to the SNAP, to live free off the government. Are you talking about the air traffic controllers, the veterans, the military? Who are you talking to specifically? The Capitol Police? How about those people? Who are you talking to in general, specifically? Entitled. See, that's the problem. That's exactly the problem. That's that group think. Everybody's entitled for something except you and I. That's the point. And that's how this continues on. And we're still stuck with this defeatist attitude, with this nonsense and chaos that's overarching, that never stops. The best thing that I saw Dick Durbin looking, as Marshall said, self-defeated, is it shows me that they are under the thumb. They are under the control of something else, something that's so powerful that these people are losing. They're being forced into submission. I believe Dick Durbin is going to resign next year. I also believe Chuck Schumer is going to resign next year. There's going to be a whole host of people that are going to walk away. No doubt about it.
They're entitled to that money.
Yeah.
So
There's
this
a
idea
contingency fund for
that they're giving in and giving this as a gift, it's not a gift.
No.
You know, it's I don't understand. So is he right that Americans wanted Democrats to keep fighting? You know, this would, and you know, people will get rehired, supposedly, federal workers, and reinstate SNAP benefits, but a 50-50 chance of extending the subsidies, I don't believe it.
So I've been saying from the outset, I don't think anyone wins in a government shutdown, and I welcome this deal. And let me tell you why. So the fight over extending the Obamacare subsidies is about addressing 22 million Americans who are going to see their healthcare premiums skyrocket. I believe that's important. I'm with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm with Mike Lawler and a number of Republicans who believe we have to extend those for at least a year. However, in the interim, while the government remains shut down, 42 million people are losing SNAP benefits ahead of the holidays. So to me,
We've got to hold out for those 22 million whose premiums are going to go up, but deny these people SNAP benefits in the meantime. That math doesn't math for me. I think adults need to get to the table and need to be willing to negotiate. And here's the other factor that wasn't mentioned.
It's already negotiated. See, that's the problem. These people don't follow up. They're like, they still need to negotiate. It's already been done. We're just waiting on a couple of stick in the muds like Rand Paul to finally get whatever he wants out of this deal. And then it's done. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's fully open. And then we'll be back at this next year, January 30th. Are we capping the Obamacare for now? Yeah, but it doesn't solve our problem. It's still, we have to fix this internally. So we give ourselves, a window of 2 months, 3 months? I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. It's not. It's just not in general. Maybe they can muster up the power in the House with enough people in there to what? Get a bill passed so they can overturn this or replace this, Marshall.
Man, I tell you, Whoopi's hair, that thing looks like some demon movie that I saw. I can't place the movie, but there's some demonic horror movie that has the hair kind of like that. Yeah. And I just can't. But that's what it reminds me of. And yeah, somebody mentioned.
You guys are funny in the chat. You guys are. Three guys. I didn't know she was married 3 times.
Like, how did he poke that? Ted Danson. Yeah. I don't know how either. I mean, God knows.
I know.
Even when she was younger, she was still a hag. I mean,
yeah. I mean, 3 men married her.
But this whole thing with
whatever happened.
They're all, they're all having fun up there. Meanwhile, what you said earlier before this little clip is that the Democrats they're ripping each other apart.
Yeah.
I mean, there is definitely a civil war going on there. They're furious at the ones that, that capitulated.
Of course they are. And remember, Schumer voted no. He voted no. So it's not like, why are you blaming Schumer? He voted no. Other people crossed the aisle to vote with him. Fetterman, why? Because they realized, look, the end, all this is about Donald Trump. They wanted to stick this out as long as they can because they think they were going to win this argument come Thanksgiving. Can you imagine not getting paid? More people not showing up to work. I mean, that's why it's not. And look, I don't necessarily believe the whole situation of scaling back what we're understanding about what we see about the DOT and the FAA in general is basically about the DEI hire or everything else. I believe that it's antiquated. I think it's just old technology. I believe that they need to update this as quick as possible. President Trump said, we can get this done in a couple of weeks. Okay. So how long has this been going on? It sounds like a couple of weeks. And that's why they're scaling back certain airports, major airports, so they can do this revision. I think that's it. And I think that's the number one reason. But this was a perfect time for cover to really go through all the bugs and all this other stuff. Now, we don't know how many people were fired. I'd like to get an idea about all the air traffic controllers in general. I'd like to see an assessment. Were anybody fired? Did a lot of people not show up? And are they welcome back? That's another thing. Should they be welcome back for not showing up when other people did, who weren't getting paid? Do you think it's right and fair, Marshall, that people didn't show up? They showed up fucking drunk. Okay, you're an air traffic control person. Your safety, people's lives are at stake. And you decided, I'm not going to come into work, even though I'm scheduled to work, and I'm not getting paid for it, but it's my duty to make sure a fucking plane doesn't crash. Are you kidding me? And some of these people who actually did their job showed up. Yeah, they should get that bonus. For all those people who didn't, fire them. I understand. You're not getting paid. Why should you go to work when you're not getting paid? Well, I mean, it's a career, isn't it? It's not like you're bartending at the local tavern, okay? It's not like you're a waitress or a cocktail server. You're not working at some nightclub. It's not a temporary gig. You're not pumping gas. You're not working at a gas station. It's not 7-Eleven. You're not working at Walmart. Nothing wrong with working at Walmart. What I'm saying is that's supposed to be a career. You put the time and effort into it. I just think it's embarrassing, man. I do.
Those people that did the extra, they went the extra mile and showed up and did the right thing. I can't imagine being an aircraft traffic controller and coming in intoxicated. let alone anywhere. I've never done that any job.
I
can't
can't
imagine
for the life of me.
But
I
the
mean, for
people,
the
they deserve the bonuses, and the other people, like you said, I agree. They should be fired.
Mhm.
Duffy needs to go through all of those.
Yeah.
They need to do a staff, like, what do they call it? Where they get their evaluation.
Yeah.
They got to do a reevaluation. Everybody comes in. They have their little
Do that,
meeting.
right? Don't they do that? Don't you think they
Well,
could
I'm
go
sure
through
they probably
every
do, but
6
they need
months?
to have a major one and really go through the ranks and say,
Mhm.
okay, and then get ready, have the other people waiting in line that are wanting to come in, scan through their work, see what see what their capabilities, and go to it. Put the new blood in there.
Well, you think about it. You think pilots, flight attendants,
Absolutely.
all these people showing up, do their job.
Even the ones that work
Making
out
sure
on
that the planes are going to land safely. Not thinking, oh, am I going to be able to get paid to pay my mortgage? You're flying a plane. Yeah, I know these things fly itself, but still. I think the bottom line is simply there were people that stood their ground, that went up there, did their job, whether they're not getting paid, and kudos to them. You didn't see police or military saying, yeah, I'm not going to do my job today. I'm not getting paid. I didn't see any deposits in my account. That's, those are the people that you weed out. You weed out. I'm sorry. You have a career. That is your lifeblood. It sucks you're not getting paid, but you work for the government. And this is another example of why we need to privatize this. We need the Department of Homeland Security needs to separate this, keep the FAA. But the bottom line is all this stuff, corporations have to buy into this. Let them do the security, get rid of TSA, bring in automated systems that corporations will oversee and run this and privatize this. That's the only way. So you'll never have to go through this problem again. So these people will not be, they won't, and keep the regulations aside. James Carville lays out a plan for Democrats to expand the Supreme Court to 13 justices. So this is what Laura Ingram's saying, then pass a statehood for D.C. and Puerto Rico. The very impetus of this discussion is what's lingering around. Everybody knows this is going to happen.
Justice Roberts, Justice Alito, Justice Barrett, Justice Kavanaugh, Justice Gorsuch. I might be forgetting
These are the
one.
two guys from the Muppets. Look at them.
I'm going to tell you what's going to happen.
The balcony.
A Democrat is going to be elected in 2028. You know that. I know that.
Oh, yeah?
He's going to be a Democratic House. He's going to be a Democratic Senator. The Democratic president is going to announce a special transition advisory committee on the reform of the Supreme Court, that we could have our third branch of government has lost the faith and trust of the American people, and his president are going to do everything alone. He's going to appoint a blue ribbon, maybe Judge Ludick and the dean of the, just the usual fucking suspects, all right? And they're going to recommend that the number of Supreme Court justices go from 9 to 13. That's going to happen, people. That's going to happen to you. They're going to win. They're going to do some blue ribbon panel of distinguished jurists, and they are going to recommend 13, and a Democratic Senate and House are going to pass it, and the Democratic president is going to sign it because they have to do an intervention so we can have a Supreme Court that the American people trust again.
Oh, the trust again. You mean that basically that is corrupt and rotten like you had previously after Antonin Scalia was unalive, so to speak. Let me just say this. All right. You already have 3 suspects on the Supreme Court from the Obama administration 2, Biden administration 1, who, in some way might all 3 go bye-bye because they might not be legal tender. Marshall, your thoughts? But this is basically I think this is the discussion, the argument down the road that everybody's seeing, that eventually they'll have to do this filibuster to move these single items through, to get legislation passed, because they know the Democrats will do it. And they got to get everything in place, I think, before August of next year. Let's think about it, because by September, everybody's off. After the recess, they're off running for re-election by September and October. So you're not going to really get any bills passed. So you have to spend a lot of time before that August recess comes in, before everybody dips out and get this legislation passed. what see you? Do we see it? Do you believe we're going to have an election? I mean, the way things are. I mean,
I'm not. I think as far as I can see, yeah, probably.
okay,
But as we get closer to the election, it's going to be a little bit more feasible to pressure them
right.
to bust to bust it, to nuke it, because you're going to have some people
Like
that are up.
for example, what would be the rationale, the urgency to pass the filibuster, which all you need is 51 votes. You don't need this cloture of 8 senators to come over and 60 to get this done, to pass any single provision.
Well, the obvious reason for us to want it is so we can get all these executive orders codified.
That's one.
But the pressure, any of those that are up for reelection, I don't know which ones off the top of my head, but there are going to be, numbers of them out there. That's going to add a little bit more to where we can get a little bit more leverage over these Republicans to get off their ass and do what Trump said and get rid of it so we can get all of these things passed. That to me is the most important part of doing it. Because like you said, and like everybody's saying, the Democrats are going to do it anyway. And Carville basically kind of just, in a way, admitted that that's what they want to do anyway. So,
yeah,
screw them.
No, I agree 100%. I think that there's going to be reasonings that are going to be predicates of why they're going to do this going forward. You'll probably see it come at the end of January of next year. You'll probably see a lot of hints of that. You might even see before the kickoff, before the 2026 season of the elections goes off with the summer of love. I have a feeling right now, unless they're totally, let's just say, defeated and controlled, then everything that's inside this theatrical masterpiece we're watching is slowly being conducted, orchestrated to a certain position and a finality. And, maybe we'll be made to see some things and not other things, but I do believe the filibuster is going to come. And finally, we're going to get all this stuff done. And it will happen next year. Thea gifted the shades. Trump one gifted the cookie. Thank you, Thea, with the ship. And donating 900 gold pills, 40 days and 40 nights. Yes, I'm glad that you guys recognize that. Go back and look at it. I mean, tell me what your thoughts are, what you feel about that. Odd number to be. All right, President Trump issues 77 pardons. I think this is a big FU about the 2020 election. Now, do you notice he was signing them in the Oval Office? This was all being recorded and stuff. No auto pen. See the difference? I think this is a lot to do with him pardoning people, not just all the people in general that were caught up in the 2020 election. President Trump issued pardons for Giuliani, Eastman, Mark Meadows, Christina Bobb, Boris Epstein, dozens of GOP electors tied to the election integrity of 2020, according to pardon attorney Ed Martin. President Trump has granted full and complete unconditional pardons to several key allies accused of attempting to overturn 2020 election, the pardon attorney Ed Martin. Ed Martin was on Bannon's show today. And even though these are federal pardons, he did illuminate to the idea that if there's going to be state crossovers with charges in general and stuff, he said that there are laws on the books that they can go and strike down in their defense, which I think is interesting. In a post, Martin said he shares the proclamation granting pardons for dozens of people, including figures like Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, breaking President Trump pardon the alternates. Yep, these are, and this is great. Never leave MAGA behind, as he was saying. I think that's an interesting choice of words that he did, but did it come too late? And is this also a foreshadowing? I do believe we're slowly getting to 2020. We're slowly getting to walking back 2020, undoing it, undressing it in some way. I think January 6th pardons, these pardons, we're getting closer and closer to the stolen election and understanding why the election was stolen, who did it, and we're going to go through all the preambles of it. I think so. Marshall, your thoughts on that? I mean, did it come too late? Or is it perfect timing as what? As a reel in some way, so you could see what's hanging out there, like an ornament, so to speak, that 2020 is on the horizon and we're about to nail it.
Yeah, I think his timing was interesting. It's as good a time as any.
Yeah.
It also puts kind of a message out there. And not my name in the chat, Tina Peters cannot be pardoned by Trump because it's a Colorado state, and you can thank Clark Griswold's hated cousin. What is
Well,
her name? Gina Griswold.
yeah,
What's her
yeah,
name? Griswold.
Gina Griswold.
That
Well, what I could
nut.
say about that is that Ed Martin right now, and he's
Right.
said this a couple
I
of
got
times. Ed Martin is trying to the Justice Department. Ed Martin, excuse me, the deputy DOJ, deputy attorney general, is trying to get her transferred to a federal facility. And when the feds ask the state to do it, that means you do it. There's no like getting around it. Their authority is supreme, and especially in the matters with transferring. And so it's just a matter of time to do that. And once they transfer to a federal facility, I believe that President Trump will pardon her then. That's what's going to happen. So it's about the timing, about transferring her there, and then he can give her a pardon. That's why they're holding this up, because they know that's coming. Blue Viking gifted the shades. Is this filibuster change the Trump card? It makes sense, to use it later, especially with all the January 6th truth coming out as well. Yeah, I think so. That's what I think, that they're going to save it for later, but it's on the horizon. And also, January 30th, 2026, all this stuff that we're talking about regarding, that Obamacare and all this other stuff, the ACA and all these things, that the provisions that they agreed upon, is only going to last a short term. We're going to revisit this next year. So the funding and all these other things, individual things, are going to go through. But we'll revisit it come February. I believe so. Let's listen to Ed Martin here.
About the 2020. I mean, one of the things that we keep pressing is that we have to adjudicate 2020.
Yes.
It's absolutely, it's the railhead of so much of the problem in the country.
Right.
And now you've seen the auto pen, the auto pen pardons, the auto pen executive orders, which I think are even worse. Tell me, why did you put this out today at the same time?
Well, two things. One is, Kurt Olson. Kurt Olson was recently appointed by the president to work on election integrity. What people may not know, and it's not a secret, is that inside DOJ, myself and a couple others have been working also on the same topic. So, you see whether it's Fulton County has these ballots we're worried about.
Why do we
we're working on
some U.S. Marshals to go down and seize them?
Everybody thinks it's, everybody thinks it's easier. It's a challenge. Look, we've got to get them. Okay. And my bet is they're not there. I've always thought that they say they're there. And that I think they're long ago shredded because of destroyed. But that's just my own opinion. We'll see. But more importantly, there is a court.
That's a bombshell.
Well, it would be. Let me say that's just me guessing. As important as they are,
they don't think you keep the evidence around that they would put them all in prison.
At this point, it's 4.5 years later. They're fighting to keep them secret. The court ordered them being held. The clerk has them supposedly down the hall. They won't let us see them to review them. Like, well, if they want to prove that the election was fine, show it to us. We have enough concerns. We've raised enough serious concerns. So my thinking is, if it's that important to them, who knows what happened? But we'll see. I'm just me reacting to how much they've fought. But so why, when we talked about the pardon of these alternate electors, at the heart of it was a desire, it seemed, the conduct of these electors. They were being shut down. They were being silenced. And why? And the question was, what happened in the 2020 election? And so when we went back and looked at it, our goal was to pardon these electors. And when you pardon the alternate electors, you got to make the case and look closely at it. And what we saw was people, again, ordinary Americans, Steve, regular people, and their lawyers and others saying, let's use the system the way we're supposed to.
It's interesting what he's saying. I mean, I don't know what the time span is to hold on to these ballots. There must be a time span, but he's saying, if they're there, why don't you show it to us? Or you're lying and they're not there. One way or another, they're going to have to tell us. But if they did destroy it, well, then basically you have no way to prove that Biden won the election. Think about that. So now you don't have a way to prove that Biden won the election. That's going to come up if you destroyed all the evidence. Think about how that's going to play in. Thea donated 500 gold pills. 11/11 is significant. What happens tomorrow? Yeah, we'll see. Thank you, Thea. Ed Martin using the Mannix trench coat. Yeah, it looks like Columbo.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's fantastic.
That's what everybody calls
Inspector Gadget. I mean, it's like, I mean, honestly, he looked Peter Sellers in the Pink Panther.
Pink Panther, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one. I don't know, maybe I'm dating myself, but I mean,
Columbo was
in the 70s.
I mean,
Columbo was way before me, but still,
I got another question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Peter Falk is fantastic.
Yeah, oh man, he was great, man.
Look,
I think he's right. I think what he said is true.
Yeah, but here's the thing. These are the two questions. Either they have it and they don't show it to us, that's going to be a court battle, or B, they don't have it, they destroyed the evidence, and now C is going to come up. Well, how are you going to prove they won the election if you destroyed all the evidence? How are they going to prove it from their end? See what I'm saying?
do you do? I mean, then what?
Well,
You have a
that's the point.
special election? Or do you
Well,
just
no, you have to prove
just
that
count it?
2020.
Just
Well,
toss it out?
what are we going to do in general about the 2020 election if it ever comes out that we could show that it was stolen, it was rigged and then stolen? It's going to be a blotted. How is the Supreme Court? You know, the Supreme Court is going to see this. I bet you they already have all this stuff already said and done. They have this hanging out in the conference. I mean, we talked about many other people have put up the argument, discussing many different scenarios regarding 2020 who sued about this and showing that a lot of these people are frauds in general. But Liz Harrington says this is another one. I think this is really good. She goes, my bet there's not there. Here we go. She goes, my bet is that they're not there. Ed Martin thinks Fulton County has already destroyed 2020 ballots. As I said all along, it is never that there was no proof of widespread election fraud. There was never any proof that Joe Biden won. How about that one?
Things the worm we keep pressing is that we have to adjudicate 2020.
Yes.
It's absolutely, it's the railhead of so much of the problem in the country.
Right.
And now you've seen the auto pen, the auto pen pardons, the auto pen executive orders, which I think are even worse. Tell me, why did you put this out today at the same time?
Well, two things. One is, Kurt Olson. Kurt Olson was recently appointed by the president to work on election integrity. What people may not know, and it's not a secret, is that inside DOJ, myself and a couple others have been working also on the same topic. So, you see whether it's Fulton County has these ballots we're worried about.
Why do we
we're working on
some U.S. Marshals to go down and seize them?
Yeah, everybody thinks it's everybody thinks it's easier. It's a challenge. Look, we've got to get them. Okay. And my bet is they're not there. I've always thought that they say they're there, and that I think they're long ago shredded because of
there you go. And that was the part that we just played. But again,
I think he's right. Why would they? Why would
you want to hold on to evidence that's
at least they're not going to go to jail?
Well, I mean,
that's the thing. They think.
Well, how do you prove a negative? See, that's the point. How do you prove a negative? See, that's something to consider. So now the battle is going to be, you destroy the evidence. Now the chain of evidence of the election ballots, how long did they have to hold it for? How long did they have to hold it for? And when did they destroy it? Are we ever going to know about that? Interesting that we're going to get to that. All right, moving on. So let me play this. Right now, justices agree. This is I think another thing we're walking into. We're slowly getting to this, people. Slowly getting it. Justices agree. It comes from the SCOTUS blog. A major election case. Setting the stage for a major ruling on the election case, the Supreme Court on Monday agreed to decide whether federal law requires ballots to be not only cast by voters, but also received by election officials by election day. As a part of this list of the orders of the justices, private conference on Friday, we took to court Watson versus Republican National Committee, a challenge by the Republican National Committee and others to a Mississippi law, as well as the similar laws in 30 states and D.C. that allow mail-in ballots to be counted as long as they're received within 5 business days after the election day. See, that's a dispute. I think really what is the mail-in discussion by the Supreme Court will be tossed out. The dispute began in 2024 when RNC, along Mississippi Republican Party, and 2 individuals went to the federal court to challenge the law. Their case was later joined with a similar case brought by the Libertarian Party in Mississippi. The Gulfport, Mississippi upheld the law, rejecting the challenge's contention that is conflicted with the federal law. District Judge Luis Guerrillo explained that according to the Supreme Court precedent, Congress set a national election day to avoid the evils of burdening systems with multiple election days and of risking undue influence upon voters in one state from the announced tallies in states voting earlier. Think about that. So I think right now we're going to get back to defining. I don't really have to read this anymore. I think everybody understands we're getting back to election day meaning. We're getting back to defining or redefining the topic a 1 day, only day voting. That's it. And I think that when this goes through, this will change the dynamic for next year. But also, how will this reflect in retrospect 2020? That's something to consider. Will that be retroactive as well, Marshall?
Yeah, and also really the most recent election, there was a lot of bullshit going on then too with
Mhm.
this one a couple weeks ago.
Right.
So yeah, will it be retroactive? That's a good question. I think it should be.
Yeah, I mean, that's my other part. That's what I was
And
thinking. I don't
once
know what your thoughts out there. Let me know what you're thinking and stuff. I want to hear your comments over there. I see FL John, you're bouncing back over there on YouTube. Let me know how YouTube is. I don't see many people over there, but that's fine. Yeah,
to me, it would also lean more and more as we go down this little road. It would lean more and more towards Trump getting at least a couple more years.
right.
It's just building. What we're seeing is building up. Is what it feels like. It's building.
Yeah, look, I think that there is something there of a portent that my question is how the Supreme Court is going to look upon this, because that case is retrospective of 2020. So again, is that going to be the fallback? Is that going to be retroactively installed, and also for the future? It would seem to me that we have to define once and for all election day, make it a national holiday. Nothing comes in before, nothing comes out thereafter. I know there are certain provisions that come in before they have it, but that's the problem in general as well. But we have to get rid. The idea of these mail-in ballots has gotten so ridiculous. That's how they're able to win New York and California ridiculously, and up and down the West Coast. I mean, it's just a joke. At this point, that's another provision that has to be looked at. And I think in some way we better consider this. This is why I think this is another example why I think that the filibuster must be utilized, because we're going to talk about voter rights, voter integrity. We're talking about voter national ID, all these other things that are going to come in there that are going to be provisions in there that they're going to claim that, look, you codify it, you get this into law, then it's game over. Then they have no choice. Then the theft and the stolen elections for future will not happen anymore. What about what's going to take place with Virginia and New Jersey? Are we going to learn what's going on? They're investigating these elections that took place in both these states because of the bomb interference, all the election interference that took place. You calling it a bomb, that's election interference. Over 100 different 250 instances of election interference. I like to think, though, yeah, it's got to be retroactive, not my
And the
name.
machine shutting down constantly.
Shutting down, another example of a problem in general. That's, again, that we're still at the moment dealing. And I'm just so sick and tired of dealing with the same nonsense. It's become insanity. I mean, I know we have to reach a final end game with this, but it has to come, and it has to come by the end of next year. Because if we don't reach this, I think, we're not going to win 2028. They're going to steal it again. And they're going to steal 2026, win the House, go ahead and impeach Trump. I think they realize it. But see, that's the problem. Do these Republicans, Marshall, do they really want to go through this again? Do they really care? The House has a better shot of keeping it if they pass these provisions and utilizing the filibuster. The Senate doesn't care. I think a lot of these senators, like Rand Paul, he's just as bad as the Democrats and some. I don't trust John Thune in any way. But, they seem to make it a deal for a temporary basis. Eventually, this is going to have to move forward. Or maybe, like Josh Hawley said, they have to change the rules. Will they change the rules? When is that going to happen? I don't know. But something has to give way, because we can no longer live like this. We cannot pretend that everything is going to be working for 1 month or 2 months. And then, the next day, hey, there's no air traffic controllers because the government shut down again. Again, we have to privatize this. Is there going to be a large corporation that's going to come in there, or is this going to be AI? What do you think about that?
Well, look, it's got to be done to get his EOs, like all these voting rules, mail-in voting, voter ID, all that shit needs to be codified for next year.
Yeah,
We've
I mean,
got
it has to
have
be
that.
fixed now.
And the other problem is, this is a real problem.
Yeah.
The real problem is that we do not have enough activity or people involved locally in these election areas,
Yeah.
like local election areas. It seems like they're all run by the damn Democrats.
Well, I was reading that they did deploy, the DOJ did deploy 250 different lawyers and other people, monitors and other people across a couple of states. I think New York, New Jersey, and Virginia per se. Lawyers and all the poll watchers, monitors, all these different people that were tasked to monitor to make sure that the machines, that if they go down, we can get them automatically back up. So a lot of those things. So they're looking into this in some way. At least they were there. I mean, Harmeet Dillon has talked about they had a lot of this. She also said that there's a potential that if any of these things were tampered with in this manner, civil rights violations were discussed in some way. If you're calling in a bomb threat, let me tell you something right now. You are violating the executive order. You're committing a crime. You're committing election interference. You're committing civil rights violations in general. You're interfering with the presidential, a state election. And it's not just that. All these things that we're going to, how long is these investigations going to take? When are we going to hear that? We're going to wait until next year. 3 Democrat women, the judge, Lindsay Vala, the prosecutor, Parisa Dungani Tafti, and the stalker, Barbara Wynn, colluded to block investigation into the stalker's threats, Barbara Wynn, against Stephen Miller and his family. So when people are asking, why is he at a military base with his family? This is exactly why. So they have this person, Barbara Wynn, who's stalking Stephen Miller, threatening his family. And the Biden-appointed judge blocked FBI search warrants against the woman accused of stalking and doxing the Trump advisor. Democrats call it free speech, but it's pure political protection. No, what it is basically you're granting this person to break the law. Stalking is a state crime. Some places it could be federal crime, depending on how serious it is. And doxing, that's a federal crime. But yet they're blocking and covering this up. That's why there's a lot of people at military bases in the Trump administration. They're concerned that this type of, let's just say, illegales, what I call it. I mean, it's so corruptible and contemptible that these people are getting away with the possibility that these people could be injured. And they're like, that's why I'm moving off. It's sad in some way, but this is exactly, these people should be arrested. A stalker, and the stalker, Barbara Wynn. Yeah. That sounds really good. And then you wonder why he's at a military base, hidden away. You know? Wow. Man, that is ugly. That is really ugly, and it's embarrassing. But this is the corruption of our judges. This is the corruption of what's going on in general in Virginia, in D.C., in Maryland. And we got to get these people out. I'm so sick of hearing this. Look at this. We covered yesterday. We covered Friday. Again, I talk about free speech all the time. I talk about the viability of it. Look what happened. A UK soccer star found guilty of speech crimes for offensive social media posts. The socialist UK government's war on free expression has just reached a new low after celebrated British soccer star Joey Barton was found guilty on 6 criminal counts of posting offensive messages on social media. The conviction of a renowned former soccer player and team manager is a chilling reminder how far the country has fallen into speech policing. Yeah, it's pretty sad in some way. No charges were filed against the Vine. However, Barton responded bluntly. Have you been on Epstein Island? Are you going on these flight logs? I mean, he's just casually being sardonic and sarcastic. And he was arrested and charged with offensive social media posts. This could be us. This is where we were. We were at this moment. Don't forget about it. Every day, you should remember about this. So that's why that whole infighting that's taking place, that it's imploding while everybody's back on here and stuff. This is exactly where we were. This is exactly where we could have been or worse. And we were that level. And we still are. Correct.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, it's just.
Yeah. I mean, when I say we still are, I mean, and I'm working on University of Florida conservatives because they're having issues.
Right.
They're having free speech issues. They're trying to cancel the people that are telling the truth or their ideas on what happened with the Charlie Kirk, the whole deal with all that.
Yeah.
And the people that are on one side, it shouldn't be one side or the other. You should be able to say whatever it is you want. And if you're a conservative, you should be able to say whatever the F you want. It's liberals that don't allow you to say what you want, that if you can't go out. Liberals can't go out of their backyard. They have to stay there. But on conservatives, they're starting to act like that to us.
Yeah.
So if you speak ill or in some way negatively about the Israeli government, all of a sudden they're calling you a groyper or a woke right, which is completely doesn't make sense at all. Woke is a leftist thing. This is what's happening now, and it has to change. So, you know, it just sparked that when you mentioned this, and it still goes on. So,
well, I mean, it's
hopefully-
it's the chapter. It's not the whole organization, TPUSA.
Yeah, right.
It's
Yeah,
the chapter in that area that's basically chiding them and censoring them in some way. And this is going to be a big fight. This is going to spill over. And I think that a lot of people right now at this point are looking at TPUSA as saying, have they been co-opted? Have they been somehow coalesced by, let's just say, the Rhino War Pig right in some way? It would seem so.
Establishment, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it would seem so. I saw her today in the White House, Erica Kirk in the White House. You know, whatever. Darla L, I see. I want my vote back, and the person voted for Trump. Hey, Alita, they've been lurking. Oh, you have a serious sinus infection. Xclear, get some Xclear spray or Nasacort. You might have to. I mean, there are other stuff you could take other than antibiotics. If you get some ivermectin, that would help. Yeah.
For what? What is wrong?
She's got a sinus infection.
Oh.
Yeah. Just,
Salt,
mean, if you
gargle warm salt water,
definitely.
steam, inhaling the steam.
But you got to get a nasal spray and a good mouthwash and stuff.
Heat right here is good too. Right here.
Yep.
Get a heating pad and put it right there.
Yeah, vitamin C, zinc, D. Yeah, I swim in that stuff. I take it every day. So mortgage rates buzz is a 50-year mortgage proposal. So we'll get into it. I just want to go over this real quickly because President Trump proposes mortgage rates buzz. Is a 50-year mortgage proposal a game changer or debt trap? Here, let me blow this up. I'm just going to show you this piecemeal because I got other articles I want to get into because this is part of our discussion today. And I want to hear what your thoughts are, your comments about a 50-year mortgage proposal. Do you think it's bullshit? I mean, do you think this is crazy? What do you two suggest here? So the U.S. housing market right now feels like a getaway to the American dream and more like a fortress, has skyrocketed. Even the mortgage rates have hovered around 6.2% and become near impossible hurdle for many. For context, the average age of the first home buyer has crept up, staggering 40 years old. That spells trouble, not just individuals, but for the economy. We're all past generally accepted the threshold where housing costs consume no more than 28 to 30% of households' income, and now it's closer to 39%. Basically, the genesis of the 50-year-old deer is a nod to the past and a push for the future. Did you know that 50% of all the wealth that's accumulated right now in the United States, the boomers have? That's what they're seeing. That's what the Gen Zs are seeing. That's what the Gen X are seeing. That's what a lot of these people are seeing in general. 50% of all the wealth is consumed or held by boomers. And then when you break down the other 50%, it's separated between Gen X, Gen Z, and I guess the one after me. I forget that one. But this isn't some wild out of the blue. Trump administration through federal finance Director Bill Pulte has been actively exploring a 50-year mortgage. Pulte himself said on X in November 2025, thanks to President Trump, we're working on this for a mortgage, a complete game changer. The innovation dramatically increases home ownership after decades. What they're trying to do here, and I'm going to move off this, what they're trying to do is this. They realize that if you extend the mortgage 50 years, your P&I, your principal and interest, and the money down, okay, will be a lot more affordable until they can get interests down, and that you'll be able to have a mortgage that'll be cheaper than what you're renting out. But the problem is, over a slow period of time, all right, there's a debt trap in there, okay? All right, you'll have a long ways to go to build equity in. That's one. Number two is that you'll be paying interest for a longer period of time to the banks. So is it any different from just basically being pulled into a debt scenario that you're in, or is it just basically getting people into affordable homes or homes in general with a longer mortgage rate so they don't have to rent anymore and pay out to Blackstone or all these other corporations. But you're paying out to whoever your lender is. That's the point. You don't own the home. Are you still renting? Yeah. When you buy a home, you're still technically renting. You're renting to the bank or renting out to whoever owns the note, the deed, whatever you guys want to call it. The point being is that, is this any different? Or is this just an idea, a way of getting younger people moved into homes a lot quicker? And is this unwise? I'm not sure, Marshall. I got more to go on this. What's your thoughts as I move forward?
So essentially, when you start Social Security, they want Social Security to start when you're 70 or 72.
Right. Some ridiculous.
So essentially, when you start Social Security, your house finally gets paid and then you die.
Well,
that's not a good scenario.
No, it's not.
Think Trump, I think Trump, he's doing what he does. He does this a lot. I think he's putting out something that's so ridiculous,
right,
that it flips over this nasty underbelly of what's really there and how ugly that is. You're gonna get a $500,000 home, and you'll end up paying 1.5 million or some shit.
Yeah,
or whatever. You'll be so upside down.
Yeah,
you'll be squirming to get out of that one.
Exactly. And so obviously, the way I see it, that what Marshall's characterizing this as is that this is basically, he's like, look what WLT put out. He said the 47th president shared a graphic between FDR's 30-year mortgage plan and a 50-year-old plan. Okay. And I think there's a reason why he's doing this. All right. He's letting people know is that we might have to do something that's going to be different or drastic in order for people to buy homes. But the idea that, and there's been a lot of pushback about the 50-year mortgage and saying that this is the most ridiculous thing ever. Because when you do the numbers over time, you're paying more accrued interest to the bank, almost double than what you are in a 30-year. Well, that's obvious. And it doesn't matter about putting 20% down or not. The interest rate is still going to be where it's at unless they can get the interest rates down. Here's the kicker. Now, the idea with the 50-year mortgage and stuff, you're going to get a fixed one. What happens if they are offered a 50-year with an ARM? Think about that. Or other extensions. I'm not saying that's the way to go, but there is something here that he's putting out because a lot of blowback, a lot of people like saying this. Even Glenn Beck's like, dude, you want to be an indentured renter into slavery for the rest of your life? I mean, no way. But what are the alternatives? Google searches held for mortgage recently climbed the highest level since 2009, while adjustable ARM rates or ARMs have also been trending. ARMs made up about 10% of all mortgage applications in September, the highest share in nearly 2 years and well above the post-2008 of 6%. Still, home prices and interest rates remain relatively high, with the median household at approximately 38.4%. Yeah, I think so. In some way, we voted to deport 50 million. Best I could do is 50-year mortgage. Interesting. I like the memes. It's true. I mean, trash, fire whoever thought this immediately. Yeah, I mean, what's your thoughts? Do you believe in it? Is it ridiculous? Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. It's exactly who it is. I would never sign up. I'm a realtor. I know how much is garbage. The Gen Z stare when Pulte tells them that now you'll be able to buy a home at 37 instead of 40, but it won't be paid off until you're 87.
Yeah, that's it. Look at that face. Look at that face.
I mean, that's exactly it.
Well, that was a beautiful fucking video, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
I'll let you know when I'm concerned.
Why wouldn't you just forbid BlackRock from buying up all the real estate and developments? How's paying 200% interest to banks a win for the average American family? Again, there is just President Trump throwing that out there to maybe, let's just say, overturn the apple cart. U.S. Rep. MTG, staunch Trump supporter, who recently turned critical of the Republican Party, shut down the proposal of this. President Trump chided her today in the Oval Office that she's been going on all these things and saying a lot of these different things, attacking him and Speaker Johnson in a lot of ways. So the question is she running for president? What is she running for? Why is she moving that way? Is she
going to try?
What is she doing? What is she, where is she positioning herself? I mean, President Trump called her out and he goes, I don't know what she's doing. But again, it is what it is. And you know what? She's wavered on a lot of different things. Some things I can't disagree with her. The 30-year mortgage became mainstream during FDR's New Deal when the federal government socialized mortgage risks. It created decades of taxpayer exposure. And why would this administration seek to copy and add a New Deal politics? Yeah, it doesn't make sense if we're going to change up the tax structure. If we're going to what? Bring down the Fed, or let's just say redo the Fed, deconstruct the Fed. Why are we doing this in some way? Now, what about Fannie and Freddie? The idea that they're going to privatize that. Didn't that go? Aren't they aren't they went public? So I think in some way is this a good thing? I don't know what this is. It is really odd when I just look at it on a face value that a 50-year mortgage sounds reasonable, and whatever person would think that is in some way. I mean, who would be lured into the idea of thinking, hey, look, if I take a 50-year well, initially I'll be able to get into my own home, rent it from the bank or wherever the lender is, which will probably be some financial institution, could be a life insurance company. A lot of these people do this on the scenes when they lend money. Let me just tell you right now, what I'm concerned about that is the idea that you'll get in at a cheaper base if you put down 20%, if you do this, if you do that. So you don't have to pay $3,000-$4,000 for rent, all right, depending on where you're at. But I also go back to what President Trump talks about. It's location, location, location. If you can't afford to live in the area you're at, then you have to move out of that area. Whether you have to drive to it, or you have to take a train, or you have to take a bus, or, what have you, or you go a place where you can afford. I understand jobs are hard to find, but the reality is and stuff, if you can't pay the rent, which is about 38% of your income per se, then does this appeal if you could lower that from 38 to 30% with this type of mortgage structure, Marshall?
Yeah, I think that Trump is just putting it out there so he puts a spotlight on something,
right?
And he wants everybody talking about it. He wants everybody to start talking about it. I think all of this is there's not. I almost feel like the health care system, that in insurance. I think all of this shit has to be completely rethought out.
Yeah, Darla L says it
totally.
best. She's like, that's what I was hinting to, Darla L. Just a 20-year mortgage felt like a lifetime to me. But maybe Trump is saying, get in when the rates drop. Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's not going to sit. That's why I was mentioning arms at that point. What are going to be the facilitation of that? Now, if you get a 50-year mortgage and the interest rate drops to 2% where we back were, if we can get it to 2 to 3%, well, your P&I and your interest rate is going to drop in half. Right now, a 50-year mortgage does not sound sensible or reasonable.
No.
When you're paying 6.2%. But if you're paying 1 to 2%, sounds pretty good. Doesn't it? I think so. I think that is a realistic expectation. Now the question is, what benefit you from wanting to take that than taking an arm extension, where that fluctuate, that goes up and down? It's just something to consider. And why a 40-year or longer mortgage is a terrible idea. I just wanted to show you this. I don't know. I'm surprised more people are not pissed off about it, but I was showing this around. I was talking to some people in the industry, and they're like, it's like exactly what Darla was saying, is that if you can control the interest rates where it would be nothing, 1%, 0.5%, 2%, just keep it at a certain level where they make their money, 50-year mortgage would be flying off the shelf. And the question is, you cap it. How long does it take to build equity in so you could turn around and flip that house and sell it so you can get into another house? That's another scenario. See, that's the problem with 50-year mortgages and stuff.
Yeah.
The more money you put down, the more equity that goes in there. Okay? That means you have a house of value. So as long as it doesn't go down, it'll only be 2 or 3 years that you go in and go ahead and flip it. Maybe. I don't know. Or you go outright and buy it. I think ultimately it's going to be based upon where we are with the interest rates come next year. The dream ownership of challenging in this country, home prices are soaring, and the interest rates are the highest point in more than a decade. See, Darlell is exactly what I was talking about. And that's what considers buying a house within your budget. Get those mortgage payments down, more manageable level, spark to rise in non-qualifying mortgage. With longer terms, they're non-qualifying because they don't fit within the guidelines. See that? Set up by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and thus they don't qualify to be sold to Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae. Most confronting mortgages have 7 or 15 or 30-year terms, but not NQ mortgages offers 40 years or even longer in some cases, just like a car loan. A longer term translates lower monthly payments, so these NQ mortgages might seem like a way to work home purchases in a tight budget. I think that's what President Trump is saying. Look at the numbers here. A home that costs $400,000, you have $80,000 to put down. Deposit, yeah, for you. So you need to borrow $320 to buy. Well, here's the closing source. The insurance, other expenses. If you go to traditional 30-year fixed, the interest rate is at 7%. That's exactly what we're talking about. If you got that interest rate to 3% or even 4%, this might be worth it. Your monthly payment would be $2,128, and the total cost of the mortgage would be $766,428.47. So you wind up paying $446,428 in interest, assuming you never refinance and sell the place, which you would probably do. And I think that this is a life lesson understanding is that as long as we are at this moment, as Marshall is talking about, as Darla L is suggesting, the foreshadowing of what President Trump is saying for this to sell in any way, if it's plausible, is to lower the interest rate. Okay. That's the only way if you're smart enough that you would want to do this.
Yeah. I mean, 50 years is just outrageous. I mean, if you could buy it when you're 10 years old and get into it, it might be a good idea.
Well, I
Because then
mean,
it'd be paid off
you buy it with Bitcoin. I mean, there's some
60,
places in Miami you can buy it in Bitcoin.
I mean, you would be dialed in by the time you're 60, be paid for. But shit, man, I mean, you'd have to be a smart little son of a bitch to get that money ready by the time you're 10 years old.
Yeah.
I
Trump won't get to the cookie.
really think that Trump is just putting this out there
Yeah.
to show how, pardon my language, how fucked up the system is and how fucked up the banking system.
Well, it's not just that. Maybe there's it's a foreshadowing of interest rates are going to
Fed
come
and
down.
all that,
Would
yeah.
USA donate 717 gold pills? Thank you. Support the boy stream. Trump won. Thank you for the cookie. Wouldn't Thea? Darlell, you can always pay off early by paying down the principal. Hopefully, we get those checks coming. Yeah, exactly. You can. I think right now, though, I think you're correct, though, and I agree with you, Darlell. I was thinking the same thing. Interest rates are just too high right now.
That's the big.
If you cut them in half, they're at 6.2, 6.8. You get them in half, 3.8, close to 4. Boom. That's when people are going to start buying. All right. That's when it's going to take off. And until you get these interest rates down, 50-year mortgage sounds the most ludicrous thing ever. I probably wouldn't take one anyway. In general, I'd probably take maybe a 15-year with the ARM, depending if the interest rates are low, and play it out for a couple of years. All right, moving forward, let's get into some interesting other stuff before we dip out. So Ghislaine Maxwell, ladies and gentlemen. All right, here we go. She brags, I've been dropped into Alice in Wonderworld. What the hell? Listen to this. I saw this. Ghislaine Maxwell brags, I've dropped into Alice in Wonderland in a cushy new jail. Are you kidding me? Okay, yeah, we know about her transfer. Let's listen to this. All right. So Ghislaine Maxwell described her life inside her new prison as a stepping through Alice in Wonderland's looking glass following her controversial transfer. The disgraced British socialite who introduced Andrew Mountbatten Windsor to the pedophile pal Jeffrey Epstein was moved to a minimum security jail for nonviolent offenders in a transfer that sparked outrage over her treatment. Maxwell, 63, is serving 20 years for aiding American sex offender in the abuse and trafficking minors. The move from Tallahassee to a federal prison, Camp Bryant in Texas, came just days after she met Todd Blanche, the deputy U.S. attorney and former defense attorney to Donald Trump. The meeting took place in July as the administration faced criticism over the unreleased Epstein documents and renewed scrutiny of president's relationship with the disgraced financier. Maxwell told Blanche she had absolutely never seen Trump, who was close friends with Epstein, behave inappropriately, according to the transcript. All right. So soon after that, she was transferred about 100 miles from Houston. Brian is a different beast in every possible respect. To Tal, she wrote, these are the prisons. She wrote to the relative in emails that were obtained. Food is legions better. The place is clean. The staff is responsive and polite. I've not seen a single fight, drug deal, passed out person, or naked inmate running around. or several of them congregating in a shower. In other words, I feel like I've dropped through Alice in Wonderland's looking glass. Interesting. Her emails were praised by Warden Tanisha Hall as the best representative of the Bureau of Prisons I have ever met and describe a creative solution to help her receive documents ahead of the Supreme Court transfer. Interesting. Okay. And we know what happened with that. So what do you think about that, using that terminology? I mean, to say I've dropped into Alice in Wonderland. Very catchy phrase these days.
Like it sounds like she's trying to say something there.
What is she saying? Does anybody have anybody
she's
know what
communicating something?
Who's she communicating with?
Alice in Wonderland is really a creepy. Yeah, just nothing great about it, in my opinion.
Who is she talking to?
Weird shit, man.
Yeah, exactly. Who is she talking about? I felt like I fell into Alice. Is that how you want to look at a prison? I guess coming from one prison, that's that's kind of rough and tumble, to another prison that's basically a country club, and it's pretty easy life. I guess so, right?
Strange.
But it's just a strange thing to say here. So this comes out. This is another Maxwell thing. Listen to this. I'll show you this. So Dems claim Maxwell is seeking Trump pardon amid alleged VIP treatment in prison. So that comes out. Jeffrey Epstein's convicted sex trafficking accomplice is preparing to seek a commutation on her 20-year federal prison sentence, according to a letter sent Monday by Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee to President Trump. According to CBS, the letter alleges Maxwell's preparing a commutation application for your administration review, undoubtedly coming to you for your direct consideration. Interesting that they would bypass this and indirectly fine about this. Ms. Maxwell's copy, print, send documents related. Maxwell is currently incarcerated at the Byron Federal Prison. So this information is intercepted. They put this out ahead of this. She's dropping subtle, I don't even know what to say, subtle comms about I'm living in Alice in Wonderland. Who is she talking to? And now this has come out that her emails or other documents that have been intercepted in some way, that the House Judiciary is going to take this up because they don't want her. They want to find out why she might get a commutation. Is that what we're looking at here? It seems odd in some way that they would focus on this, the information received. Are they trying to release this information? Ms. Maxwell is herself requesting from her 20-year prison sentence for her role in a co-conspirator in Jeffrey Epstein's international child trafficking. The Democrats wrote, or that child sex predator that now holds tremendous sway in the second Trump administration, that your DOJ will follow clemency recommendations. Oh, they're on this. CBS previously reported Maxwell's transfer from a low-security prison. Democrats on the committee are now demanding that Blanche testify publicly about his interactions with Maxwell and any potential exchange of favors. Wow. Can he do that? I mean, would he be allowed to? I mean, doesn't she have some type of, well, I don't know, client lawyer privilege, or she's the ward of the state, and any information she gives can be furled over. And why would they want to give them that information? Yeah, Hillary, Alice in Wonderland. That's interesting. Is that a hat tip? I'm ready to tell you more. Or is she saying that in general because she's already given that information up?
Yeah, that whole thing is bizarre, but it seems to me she's trying to say something to somebody.
Say something to who?
Yeah,
that's what I want to know.
Say
friend, something to who?
Not to Trump, not to her, somebody on her side out there.
Yep.
Something, I don't know what. And it just, and I agree with whoever it was that said it'd be suicide. Trump is not going to pardon her. That, I don't see that happening at all. Because the first thing
well, he's not going to pardon her, but he would commute her sentence and basically mean she would be out.
But if he did
that, she served how many years now? She's been in jail since what, 2022, so 23, 24, 25. What, she served about almost 3 years. So could he commute her sentence? He could, not pardon her, but commute her sentence. The question is why? Why would he do that? What benefit would it be? And then he would have to explain that. That would be a hard sell right now for a lot of people.
It would destroy him.
Yeah.
Everybody out there would be like, Trump's covering his ass because he's a pedophile.
Yeah.
You know, that's going to come out.
Absolutely. Stun Gun, what's up? Thank you for the $10 Rumble Rant. Stun Gun 1, thank you for the $10 Rumble Rant. Hello, Patriots. Yes, hello. How's your new job going? How you been? Super D gifted the can. Thank you. So President Trump in his recent recently announced a $2,000 tariff dividend. We're going to issue dividends to our middle income people, lower income people, and we're going to use the remaining tariffs to lower our debt. Okay.
Income people and lower income people of about $2,000. And we're going to use the remaining tariffs to lower our debt. We're going to be lowering our debt, which is a national security thing. So we're doing a lot of good work. And the numbers were reported so incorrectly. The real numbers are trillions of dollars have been taken in or gotten in terms of investment from the tariffs. And so if that were ever reversed, it would be a disaster. Frankly, it would be a national security problem for our country. And nobody thinks it's going to be reversed. I think we had a very good court case. As you know, it's before the Supreme Court right now. But if that were ever reversed, people are saying, oh, it's $1 billion. Some people said, oh, it's $2 billion. Well, that obviously we can handle very easily. But this is trillions of dollars we're talking about in terms of the tariff income and all the investment income that's come into our country. We're going to issue a.
Here's the thing about this, and I'll say about the tariffs, all right, because the Democrats are going to look at this and say, oh, we can use the tariffs to give money away. See, they're going to look at this and say, oh, this is an opportunity for us to give money away to people, because you know how much they love doing that in some way. And I think that's the problem, the sticking point that I have with this, because this, if the Democrats ever get control of this, because the House, I just find it like, I understand why he's doing this. All right. He's showing that the tariffs are coming in and we're using this to pay down our deficit. We're helping people right now at this scenario and stuff. But the Democrats are going to use this in the future and say, why can't we use the tariff money to pay for this? Why can't we use the tariff money to pay for that? That's what I'm concerned about, that this is going to be a stick in the mud and a fight in the future, that always the tariffs are going to be something for giveaways for people, when it's actually supposed to make us wealthy, pay down our deficit, get rid of the Fed so we don't get taxed, so you and I don't have to pay these unreasonable, ridiculous, illegal taxes. Maybe we have to overturn the 16th Amendment, something like that. That would be one thing we should be focused on. Where is this going in some way? Is this going to be a bonanza? I mean, how many more of these things are going to be out there in some way that people are going to pick up on this? And why the number 2,000? What was it about 2,000? I'd like to see the numbers and the percentage of people that it's going to based upon that. We know the numbers around 70% of American households. I was at 73. I saw make $68,000 a year. So if you do that math per se, those are the people who are going to get it. So let's just say 73%, 74% of American households are going to receive this check. Okay.
Well, I mean, for me, I could really use it because I am on disability.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if it goes to the people that, that need it, that actually qualify for it,
right.
That's good. It helps veterans, get them off the streets, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, it would also it would inject to the economy to a degree too.
Yeah.
And people have, look, this is all our money anyway.
No, I don't disagree with that, but I don't, I understand, but how this could be used,
where they could say you're buying people off.
Right. I mean, Bush did this with the $500 checks during 9/11 and during the shutdown.
Yeah.
Go shopping, go buy something at the mall. Don't worry, we got this covered. Remember that? Remember that horse shit? Don't be fooled. Yeah, Bush did something like this. That's what I was saying, Curious Cat.
Yeah.
He did exactly that. All right. So, but this is a different scenario and stuff. That was taxpayer money that was just being redivvied out.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is something totally different.
Lower to middle. I mean, especially this time of the year.
Right.
I think it would be helpful, and I don't think it's hurtful.
No, I think it's going to go out in December. I do. I think it's going to go out around Christmas time. I absolutely do.
I think it should. I mean, they, especially after the Doge thing, they were like, "Oh, everybody's going to get $5,000." When they had to backtrack it, they got kind of rug pulled on the, on Musk, and his Doge thing, which, I don't blame him for it, but, anyway, I don't think it's a bad idea.
personally, that whole thing with Scott Bessent and Doge and all that stuff, I think that's a misdirect. That's just my feelings. Because if they're going to install AI into the systems, into all these airports under the FAA and under the direction and tutelage of the Secretary of Transportation to automate all this stuff, it would seem so. I mean, so if you're not going to hire more people or it's going to take a while to get more people in, you want systems in place that are updated and automated that will have less skilled people that you'll need right away off the bat, so to speak, to be up and running these things. You follow me? So you can have the time to go and get people, let's just say educated enough, skilled enough to become in and ready to go with the new system ready in, instead of transitioning it over. How will Americans get Trump's 2000 tariff dividend? U.S. Treasury Scott Bessent said President Trump's idea of giving a tariff dividend of $2,000 to Americans may come through tax cuts passed in his signature economic policy. So there you go. So it's not you might get a check. This week response social media post on Sunday where he called out people who criticize tariffs claimed a dividend or at least $2,000 a person, not including high income people, will be paid. Bessent mentioned he did not discuss this suggestion with Trump, but the $2,000 dividend could come in lots of forms, in lots of ways. Could just be a tax decrease that we're seeing on the president's agenda. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, deductibility on auto loans. Okay, what is Donald Trump's tariff? In a post on social, Trump wrote, people are against tariffs, are fools. We are now in the richest, most respected country in the world with almost no inflation, a record market, 401ks highest ever. Well, yeah, I mean, look, I agree. That's absolutely true. If you look at the numbers, it is. But that does not necessarily mean, all right, when you go to the pump, when you go to the store, stuff that people do on a daily basis, that they don't see things that are affordable to them. This is still the point of what's going on with SNAP. This is still the point when you have so many people milking off the tits, so to speak, and the companies like Walmart and 7-Eleven and all these different people to get the backdoor subsidies. That's what increases this. If you get more people off of SNAP, you kick out all the illegals, you remove all those people, and you lower the number on there, prices will come down. And I don't necessarily think it's inflation per se. I think that there was, in some way, between 21 and 23, that there was some type of deal that was worked out with the Biden administration that increased markets because of all the other things that they were charging them with of outsourcing. So a lot of this stuff, I think, it's going to take some time. I really do. I know people are out there and saying, this is all bullshit. It's not really true. No, it's taking time. That's the problem. All right. It's not going to happen overnight. He's in there for 11 months. Jesus, 10 months. It's not going to happen overnight. And you know what? When you have the luxury and opportunity to go to price checking and to go to other stores, then go to the place where it's the most affordable. That's my attitude. You shouldn't be shopping at one place anyway. We're not a communist country. We're not Cuba, where this is the market you go to. And whatever they have, they have. It's not like that. We have an opportunity to go place to place to place to find out stuff. Gas stations, that's where you have Gas Buddy to find out where the cheapest gas is, and many other different things that you can do. The problem is we don't have that luxury with our healthcare. We don't have that luxury with other things. That's where the rub is. While promising dividends to Americans, he added, we are taking in trillions of dollars and soon will begin paying down our enormous debt, $37 trillion. Now, I have an argument about this. Are we really going to pay down this debt? Think about it. If we left the corporation, Marshall, and we were in a new republic, isn't it that's their debt? And why would we want to pay their corporation debt down with the new tariffs that are coming in that'll be future benefiting our country? Why would we want to do that? Why wouldn't we want it all come crashing down and then they go bankrupt, belly up, and then we just move off of it?
It'd be zeroed out.
Yeah, I mean, why is it I understand you can't say that. Trump can't come out and say, oh, yeah, we're going to let it all crash. In order for it to crash, this debt will disappear. We're just going to throw the tariff argument in front of it. And then that number, all we could do is go, boom. All it is ones and zeros. All it is a digital number. It means nothing in the world of you and I. Okay? When your bank account shows zero, that's when it bothers you. Record investment in USA plants and factories are going up all over. A dividend of $2,000 per person, not including how it will be paid to everyone. Okay, Supreme Court's doubts of the tariffs. We'll get to that. I'll just say this. we're going to find out the ruling soon. Probably, I'd say before Thanksgiving, maybe before the end of the month. Several justices appeared skeptical, suggesting many tariffs might be overturned. We'll see. I'm still thinking a 5-4 decision with a majority opinion coming from Roberts. Not Roberts. Can't think of his name. I was going to say Scalia. Alito. No, Alito. I think Alito will be the. That's just me. I'm hedging my bets. I'm looking at the betting markets. Marshall, your thoughts?
Yeah. This whole thing right here is going to make it. I don't know how to say it, man. I mean, the problem with this, if they don't pass this, it is a matter of national security. That's the way they have to. I'm trying to roll it through my head.
You mean the Supreme Court?
Yeah. Yes. Because if they don't look at the tariff situation as a matter of national security and how it affects national security,
right?
Then they vote another way, then they're not looking at the whole picture. It has to be looked at in that way, that the tariffs give our country leverage around in a global way for national security. It provides national. It's not about just giving us money or taking money from other countries or raping them of money, whatever. They do it. All the countries do it around the world. It's a matter of national security. I agree with you that it's going to go in a 5-4 vote because of national security. That is the way you have to look at it.
Yeah, I think there'll be provisions in there that there'll be I think it's going to happen, but it's going to be slim, and they might revisit it and set up another time. But
I am worried about it, though.
Yeah, I am too. The guardrails up. Well, I mean, it also would give President Trump the opportunity to declare the Insurrection Act, because if he does declare the Insurrection Act, then we have been captured. Because what you're doing is you're taking our national security away by not ruling for this economic, let's just say, achievement that he's done. And if you do so, and you strip the power from the president of Article 2, then you're in violation. And then now we have a conflict of interest. And I do believe now that's where we are, because that would show that we are a captured state. Thank you, Thea, for the can. Super D for the can. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a gold pill. Hit the red pill. Like, share, and subscribe. It's important. You can help us out over here on Rumble with a Rumble rant, or you can help out Marshall. Ko-fi.com/surfdog74.
Before Thanksgiving, they'll roll on.
I think we're going to get something either before Thanksgiving or before the end of the month. I think we're gonna hear something very soon. It's not going to take 5-6 weeks, but I think before December we should have some idea of where it's at. I think so. The question is how long it takes for them to render opinion. I mean, if this is not going to go the way, then the dissent would come quicker. But the longer it takes, the opinion might be more positive. That's the way I'm keeping an eye on it. And I would be surprised if it's any bigger than 5-4 majority. Because if it's not 5-4 majority, then it's done. Because I can't see it being. Well, Ketanji down Braxton, they just voted the other day about what? About SNAP and shooting down SNAP. The Supreme Court. Even Brown Jackson did. And temporarily doing that. So that caught me by surprise. It's worth noting that last night, Attorney Ed Martin said about the identity about the J6 bomber suspect. Now, there was a whole thing we covered on Friday, Marshall and I, about that. Now, we didn't cover the name of that person. I know other people are throwing out the name, and I know other big accounts were throwing out the name and stuff. And clearly, whatever that was, they talked about the walk, the gait. They do it on this stuff. The way this person was walking or utilizing their steps, and what Glenn Beck did, other people, maybe they were close. Maybe they were bringing out something. I don't know. But apparently, Ed Martin says the current roles, the United States Pardon Attorney appointed by President Trump, DOJ Weaponization Working Group, Special Attorney investigating mortgage fraud by public officials, appointed by Pam Bondi. This is false. Neither Mr. Martin nor DOJ has made a determination. U.S. Pardon Attorney and Director of DOJ Weaponization Group determined the identity of the J6 bomber. Shawnee Kirkhope is a former Capitol and current intelligence operative. January 6th was an FBI. This is what Welch said. So either they're holding this back, possibly, for the future arrest or something bigger to blow out, and they're skirting this issue, or this was just someone putting out information to get us closer to the January 6th identity, which would bring the whole house of cards down. I'm not sure. I'm not going to have an opinion one way about this because I'm not really sure where this is lying. You know, and at this point, if it's not that person, why suggest it was? Was that a misdirect in some way? Or if it really was her, why not? Why isn't she being arrested? Why is she being interviewed? I think there's other things in play here. I'm not really sure, and that's why I've kind of left it alone. I want to see how this more spins out, because I know a lot of people had to put out, contrary opinions because they were running with that statement. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what to say about it. All right, two last things and we're out of here. I know Thea wanted me to cover this because she said that and I was looking into this, but thank you, Thea, for the 500 gold pills. Super D donated 300 gold pills. Thanks so much, Thea, my Patriot friend, and Brett Marshall. You're welcome. Thank you for all supporting the platform. Here it is. Canadian government massacres hundreds of perfectly healthy ostriches. And I have to just tell you right now, the Canadian government is evil as fuck. This government has been, I don't know what's going on, but the government has been captured. They've euthanized 70,000 people, a lot of them that weren't even needed to be euthanized. They had mental disease and other things that are going on. But this is dark times for Canada. I don't want Canada as a state. I don't want it as a 51st state. I don't want this shit on my doorstep. I don't want to be traveling. Oh, it's a 51st state. What is wrong with these people? I feel bad for the Canadians in general. I really do, because they are suffering here. It's going to be dark winters for them. Canadian government massacres hundreds. Healthy ostriches with high-powered rifles. Monsters. Look at that. They slaughtered them. In December 2024, Canadian Food Inspection Agency, claimed that 2 deceased ostriches have been lying outside for 16 hours, tested positive for H5N1 via PCR testing. Just imagine you were tested. I'm like, oh, we got to put you down. That's one step closer to the edge, and we're about to break. That's exactly what you're seeing. Just 41 minutes after receiving the results, CFIA signed an order to cull the entire flock. I'm not going to play this anymore. I'm just going to show a couple of this. Nearly 1 year later, all the ostriches remain healthy, fully recovered, have developed natural immunity, gained against H5N1 bird flu. Their antibodies were critical, important for the future research. Last month, Canadian Food Inspection seized control of Universal Ostrich Farms, cut off access, constructed massive death pattern to exterminate healthy birds. The final effort to stop this madness was not successful. On Thursday, Canada's Supreme Court said it would not hear an appeal regarding the mandate to exterminate healthy ostriches. A few days ago, Rebel News confirmed that every one of these healthy ostriches was slaughtered and shot dead with firearms. You know, I don't really know what to say about Canada, but I look at Canada as a future portent, a future pretense, a harbinger of what we could have been, that we still can be. A very dark, let's just say, fascist government that is controlling them. I mean, obviously, the way things are operating in Canada, they're not. I mean, President Trump is like, I don't have anything to do with you right now. We'll revisit the tariffs soon. You know, you got individual provinces that want to separate and break off, that want to be in the United States. That might happen. But here we are as Canada in general. They're going to have to go through their own reckoning. The fact that I read 70,000 people were euthanized. Euthanized. What is wrong with this government? This is a very soulless, godless government that's still under the auspices of the British Crown. No doubt about it.
Yep.
No doubt about it. Just because we talked about all this stuff, they're still in control. In name only, maybe. Yeah, I think it's a prison planet in that country, prison world of its own. And they're killing themselves. They're destroying themselves. I don't know what hope there is for Canada. I'm not wanting to fix Canada. Canada is not my problem. I live in America. I'm an American. If you want to do business with us, maybe you should clean your shit up. Maybe you should start kicking out all the illegals. Maybe you should start, all right, not wanting to turn into Great Britain, because Great Britain's going to riot. They're heading to a civil war, as they should, as they will, as they probably have to. But I'll say this, with the Canadian government, it bothers me. They sit on our border, and some of this batshit crazy stuff that goes on, it's like, and any discussion about them being a 51st state in general, as a whole entity, I'm like, out the door. Individual provinces, that's going to be probably a possibility. You know, is Canada set for a breakup, Marshall? Maybe.
Those ostriches were so dangerous with this bird flu or whatever,
It's gross.
whatever the hell it was. Yeah, they said it was so bad that they sent snipers in to shoot them.
Yeah.
That had no protection. No, they didn't have ventilators. They didn't have.
Think of it,
filters.
you're the farmer. You're
They
the
ju- yeah.
farmer of this. And they just went in there and started killing them. This
Yeah,
is your crop.
If they were so dangerous, how come you don't have on hazard suits? They had no hazmat suits, no filters, no gas mat, whatever. They just regular guys just walking up, and they're just. This reminds me of Ruby Ridge and Waco.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what this reminds me of. An intentional slaughter of life. What this in this case, animals.
I listen. I couldn't.
It's out of control. I cannot. How does this happen?
I mean, look, they'll come to your house and like, hey, you test your dog up. Your dog's got the bird flu. We're gonna kill it or shoot it right in front of you, or your baby. What's next? You. They already euthanize people in Canada. Canada's become such. Canada reminds me of some future, ominous, dark sci-fi world. I really
Westworld or some shit.
Yeah, dystopian. I mean, it is. There is something wrong, something wholly wrong with Canada. The people running it,
government. It's out when you let government get out of control. That's what this is. I mean, it's just like what happened during COVID over here.
Yep.
Remember what happened? How many people died during that?
Yeah.
Yeah. We got.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
I think we got a break. We got a reprieve right now. I don't know. I know where everything is going, how everything's going to unfold. I'd like to think that I could be positive that some things will get better. While we have ways to go to figure out what's happening. I mean, just look what happened with the 40 days and 40 nights. In biblical context, that's the way I look at it. That this was set up, what someone said, as a judgment. Look what was the final outcome. These people capitulated.
Definitely.
And now they're done. And now they're done in some way, Marshall. All right, I'm going to play this. We'll dip out. I dropped all the pills. Hope you recently. All right, good. They're coming out. Yeah, you can have Canada. I saw you. Not my name. That's funny. Yeah, I don't want it either. All right, Left Wing Airlines. Let's fly to friendly skies.
Welcome to Virtue Airlines, the progressive airline for people who cancel everything except their holidays.
We offer direct flights to Cuba, China, and North Korea, but no one actually moves there, obviously.
That's great.
I was nervous about flying, but then my wife's boyfriend reminded me.
My wife's boyfriend.
We fly through clouds like we own the sky. Typical Western entitlement.
We offset our carbon emissions by feeling really bad about them. We're emotionally net zero.
You can't hate people like that enough. That's my attitude. You can't hate people like that enough. That's my attitude for tonight.
These are the people, Brett. These are the people that thought it was a great idea to tear up half the rainforest to make a road.
I know.
A highway to go to their climate change meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you saw that, right?
Oh, I did see that.
Plowed down a huge swath of the rainforest in Brazil so they could have a climate change meeting in the middle of the fucking Amazon.
So I think this is for Blue Viking because I found this. Trump announces and recommends 10,000 bonus for air traffic controllers who work through the shutdown. So you were correct. He tells that you were correct, Blue Viking. He tells the other ones get back to work and find a new job. If you didn't go there, you should resign.
Tell them to fuck off.
You should be fired. You should be fired. Time to fire all DA hires who threaten the safety of our airports. You should be fired. Sorry. I mean, honestly, you work for the government. Okay. You have to show up. Sorry, they pay your salary. You don't like it, then don't work for them. But this is what happens when you hitch a ride with a socialist plan where the government pays you, all right, and you're supposed to show up to work. And you don't even show up for work. Oh, I'm not getting paid. I don't have to show up for work. Typical Democrats. Typical people that act like that. Donald Trump is basically saying President Trump is like, must get back to work now. Anyone that doesn't will be docked. All should be docked. I was reading these stories and he said people coming in wasted. Like they would go for lunch. They would go for lunch at a bar or tavern. They get all drunk, come back to work, and then they were asked to leave.
I've never done that.
You're an air traffic controller. Do you understand? Lives of people. This is why I tell you I don't like to fly. I don't want governments controlling my airline. This is exactly the problem. Thanks, Stun Gun, for the $10 Rumble rant, and thank you all for supporting the platform. Marshall, any final thoughts? I mean, this is just absolutely, honestly, that's why I tell people don't fly during this time period. It's not safe, and they're scaling it back. You might be stuck in an airport or two or three. And what do we say? Take an Uber. Take an Uber. They're telling people to take Ubers. That's how crazy it all is. This is what government-controlled airline industries are. You need to privatize this. They need to separate from this. Keep the FAA. Let it fall into Homeland. Keep TSA. That needs to go. Why would you want to have it? Let corporations come in with their own. Private companies come in. It'll be done better, smoothly, faster, better technology. I mean, can it get worse? I mean, hell, are they going to put Palantir in there? They already got your information. I mean, what are you going to go through an X-ray machine that's going to see your skeletal body like it out of some sci-fi movie? Like, what is it? Not Running Man. Total Recall.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I mean, that's where it should be, something like that. But all right, Marshall.
It reminds me of what you said earlier, that the planes fly themselves generally. And yes, they do generally.
Yeah.
Now, when they come into land, I saw a video earlier today called a crab landing. You know how a crab crawls sideways?
Yeah.
The wind is hitting the plane so hard the pilot has to take over. And the plane is literally flying sideways. The guy lands it perfect. This is why you need quality air traffic controllers. If you've ever seen a landing like that, that is scary shit, man.
Well, with the articles that I've been reading,
blowing the plane sideways.
they don't even know the nomenclature. The pilots are complaining that they don't know the nomenclature, the actual verbiage, the communications that they talk. Okay. So you got people there are working there. And then they're like, you had a pilot. I was reading a pilot was complaining when he landed that he thought that the traffic controller was drunk because he was slurring his words. He was slurring his words. And he's like, he had it recorded. He's like, tell me if this guy doesn't sound drunk. This is a scary scenario. I've been pounding the freaking table about this. And I think the 40-day, 40-night scenario, a part of the scaling back is for the automation and updating of the process. And I think it should happen. Yeah. It needs to happen. I mean, honestly, I think
AI is going to be a part of it too.
It has to be. But I mean, don't you want to see private companies come in and take over security or just the whole, let's just say, I mean, honestly, how about over airports in some way? Not make it a municipality of local state governments and stuff. Make it private entities in some way. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't want private companies to come in, handle security, handle this, handle that, handle TSA. Handle all this stuff. I mean, you have to sell this off eventually. I mean, I just don't understand it anymore that we're going to continue to go through shutdowns. Okay. And this is going to be the problem. And we get screwed out of this. You know, you and I
that gives them a lot of control in Congress.
Yes. And this is an argument of where the idea where they wanted to control how many miles you drive, what kind of cars you drive. They want to put all this stuff in. That regulation is still up. They want to control and all this stuff. They want to
go to the ostriches. Same idea. Kind of.
Right. And this should be something as awakening of people understand how scary travel is in this country. Because if you are not seeing it. They'll find every way to cut it. When 9/11 happened, that shit was shut down for weeks. It's about over 2.5 weeks. You couldn't do anything other than what? Drive your own car. So, I mean, think about if you take public transportation. You should not rely on government transportation, public transportation, or anything, because in the end, you lose. You lose. I mean, and it's sad in some way. All right, that's our show for tonight. We will return on Wednesday. Have a good evening. Stay warm out there. It's going to be really cold the next 2 days, Marshall. It's going to snow here in Tampa. It's going to snow in Tampa, I heard. We're going to be like 32 degrees. Can you believe that? All right.
Get your snowman's hat on or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to get that. All right. Good night, everybody.
All right.